Let's start there, I guess. So what does it mean to you,
Mm,
communicating?
I think it's all about the caring and communicating more often, like speaking to like everyone in the team more frequently and keep in touch. I think that's the basic of communication, and which is important, like even more important online because we don't see our face.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's about the human. It's about human relationship when working remotely, right? Something that we naturally do when we see each other in the room, like how are you doing and do you feel good? But then, how can we create this type of experience, but now in the online
Hmm.
environment?
Hmm. Yep.
Okay. And what did you do in the last workshop to cater for this concern?
Mm, well, I really want the workshop to be like interactive, not one direction, but like interactive each other, facilitators and participants. And I think the the briefing, the beginning of the workshop, you can do some, you can try some mini games where people can introduce themselves and also get used to the tools we're using because like some tools are obviously new to some people. So for example, what I've tried in the last workshop was the introduction. Oh, the introduction. At the introduction of the workshop, uh, we invited the participants to the Miro board, and I prepare a board like welcome board that they can see immediately when they arrived at the Miro board. And I asked people to put a post-it and write their names and like share how you feel today, like that. So we have a few members to welcome, and in this way, we don't have to teach how to use the tool, but just showing some samples, and they can learn immediately like how to use this tool. So it's a tutorial and check-in at the same time.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice.
So I think that was efficient. What do you think?
Learning by using. I love it.
Mm.
You achieve two goals here.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
introduce the participants to the tool, just simple dynamics, adding a sticky note, move it in around,
Hmm.
reading other people's input, but also checking in, sharing what they feel about it. I like it, and immediately I start thinking about things like what you could do in the normal facilitation situation.
Yeah.
There is an exercise where you ask people to bring something to the workshop. Of course, you ask that in advance, and I've done that before in order to build a closer relationship within the group.
Hmm.
For example, what you could do is that you can ask them to bring a thing or two that represent them the best. So, for example, what kind of thing, a small thing from your home, you could bring to the workshop so we could learn more about you. And they
Hmm.
could bring like a multi tool, a plush toy, whatever. But
Hmm.
then in the online environment, it could be a photograph, right? So take a picture
Hmm.
to show us who are you, or represent yourself with a picture, and then they could upload that to the same uh, a virtual whiteboard space
Hmm.
and learn another thing about how to use that. For example, how do you upload a picture?
That's right. Yeah. So
And
combining
maybe I
game and sharing something about you would work well together.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I should definitely give it a go during our next visual thinking meetup.
Yeah, sure.
I'll ask people to bring a picture to tell a story.
Yeah, online shop, like online working online, we have a lot of limitations, right? We only have voice and videos, and like luckily we have online collaborative tools, but still we are lacking like some like communication channels compared to the real conversation. So we really have to be creative to maximize the channel that we already have.
But also exploit what you get from the technology. Some things were not possible in the physical room, right?
Yeah,
I guess
exactly. That's why
it's
we have to like be creative. Yeah, to make a
yeah,
trick
yeah.
or magic with the tools we already have.
And when we talk about things we've lost, like we've lost this emotional connection, we don't see faces properly all the time, we don't sense the space we share, the voice is of a degraded quality. But that's us focusing on the limitations. But what are the unique, you could say, features that come together with the technology that could actually help with the human relationship in particular? Is there anything that is available or possible because of technology we didn't have before, or we only lost things?
That's a good question. Of course, there are a lot of things that can't that we can't feel online, but for example, like online, like real-time collaboration is something that we didn't have in real.
Nice. Let's
Yeah,
talk about that.
yeah.
Especially, I can actually think of one here that could speak positively about the technology, to be the technology advocate, so to speak. I used to work a lot with the distributed teams, and the distribution means that you have at least two parts where one part would always be like a dominating part. For example, decision makers are seated in that part, and that would always influence the conversations because the people participating from the less dominant part, they would listen in more carefully. They would be naturally more passive, and dominant not as like as a I can almost feel a kind of a negative impact here, but it's more like even if people are nice to each other, it's more about these are the decision makers, right? We kind of give up our participatory power, but also think about another thing is that in that dominating part of the virtual setup, all the people are seated next to each other, and they talk to each other because it's natural to do so. They're in the same room, and they kind of forget about the people who are present virtually unintentionally, right? And then it sends a signal to the virtual participants that you should just kind of lean back and listen, so you participate less. But then, of course, it was always a challenge for a facilitator to create the equality of the conversation with the mixture of people who talk to each other naturally, physically present, and the people who call in virtually. But now I think everyone is calling in. It equalizes us. You cannot
Yeah.
establish an environment where you can forget about other people being present. So it's more equal in a sense. And of course, it still comes to hand in hand with the complexities of running such a workshop. But I think equality is something that we gained from it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Mm, interesting.
We are now, as I like your drawing here, because you say like now we are all equally pathetic. Like we don't know how to work properly remotely, but at least we're in the same condition as anyone else.
Yeah, that's right. And people all over the world, we
Yeah,
are
but
equally
I guess,
suffering.
yeah. But let's just play it up a bit. I don't like that we take that stance of being miserable. I
Yeah,
think what is good here is that now we sometimes thought, oh, we shouldn't do this workshop because these guys are seated elsewhere, right? It's not a justification or an excuse enough. We say, well, we work remotely. Oh, there is an opportunity.
yeah,
These guys are also remote, and we just by all means do the workshop, all of us, because some of the workshops used to be limited to the local participants, but today you cannot use that as an excuse to run a
yeah,
workshops
exactly.
without certain people involved.
Yeah, that's why I
Well,
could
I guess
join your Visual Thinking Copenhagen meetup. That was amazing.
exactly,
Yeah, so we can
exactly.
work more collaboratively beyond time frames and geography. That's like a big potential that we have.